Welcome to Precalculus Concept 29C underneath inverse trig functions. I am going to show you how to use a calculator to evaluate inverse trig functions. There's only 2 boxes for this lesson, so it's pretty quick. But right now, before we even begin, I need you to stop, or I'll stop it for you, and I need you to go get your calculator, okay, your scientific calculator, and we're going to be using it throughout the lesson. Okay, you should have your calculator out right next to you, and I'll get mine out. And I'll put it right over there. And what we want to do is we want to talk about how to use the calculator to evaluate this, okay? This says the inverse sine of 1/4. Now remember, when you see this, I want you to remember that this means the angle whose sine has a value of 1/4. That means the angle in a right triangle such that the opposite side is 1 and the hypotenuse is 4. Okay, so what triangle or what angle makes this possible that the sine has a ratio of 1/4? Now, a lot of students don't know what mode to be in this case, and I'm going to show you that it doesn't matter what mode you're in, but you should generally be in radian mode. Okay, so in case you don't remember how to do that, look right now, my calculator says I'm in degree mode, so I can change that by clicking on the mode button, going down to radian, highlighting it, and pushing enter. Once I do that, I can push second, quit, and get me back into here, and I'm checked up into radian mode. Okay, so go ahead and do that if you have not yet done that. Now that we're in radian mode, we can evaluate this, and the directions set to 4 decimal places. So what you do is notice here on the sign, right above the sign, highlighted in mine is in blue, it says the inverse sign. So what you want to do is just hit the second button, and that activates the blue part above the key. And notice it says inverse sine, and I just plug in 1 divided by 4. Pretty straightforward. Push enter. So what I get is 0.2526, and since this thing wanted me to go to 4 decimal places, this looks like 0.2527. So you would just simply write down, everybody, this is approximately 0.2527 because the directions say 4 decimal places. So that means that's 0.2527 radians. Okay, that means radians. Oh, sorry, wrong button. This is what I want to see. So now, what does this actually mean, right? So if I took the sine of this angle, so this angle in radians will give me a ratio of 1/4. So if I took the sine of that angle, and you can do that by pushing just second answer, I'm just sort of showing you a demonstration here. Notice I get back 0.25, which is exactly 1/4. So the inverse trig function just tells you what angle it has to be at for the ratio to be 1/4. Now, what would happen if you did this in degree mode, okay? So let me just show you, for example, if you did this in degree mode. So if I'm in mode, and I went back and I went to degree mode, push enter, okay, push second quit. Now my calculator says I'm in degree mode. So if I take the inverse sine of 1 divided by 4, this is going to give me a degree measure. So I'm going to have 14.47 degrees. And again, if I take the sine of the last answer that I just had my calculator stored, it's going to give me back 0.25. So this could either be at 14.4775 degrees would give me a ratio of 1/4, or 0.2526 radians would give me a ratio of 1/4 to the hypotenuse, or opposite to hypotenuse. So you can see that it works in either case, in either mode, but generally speaking, when we're taking inverse sines, we want to be in radian mode because that's how they're defined on the graph. So what we're going to do is keep our calculator in radian mode. So I'm going to go back and put it in radian mode and keep it there for the remainder of this process here. Okay, so now I know I'm in radian. And then this next problem says, what's the inverse, or sorry, this should be inverse tangent. My bad. Let me put that for you. Inverse tangent of negative 0.965. So again, no big deal. We'll just say second inverse tangent of negative 9.65. Push enter, and boom. So we get negative 1.47. We'll now round that. So this is approximately negative 1.47 radians. Let's talk about this one for a second before we do the U-try. I'll put a little star next to it, all right? So right now in your calculator, I want you to put inverse cosine of 3 and see what happens. Okay, hopefully when you put an inverse cosine of 3, you got this error message, okay? And the error message is saying a domain error. Let's talk about why that happens to be, okay? What this is saying for you right now is what angle has a value that has a cosine that's equal to 3? Well, there is no such angle, because if you remember, the cosine curve is stuck between 1 and -1. So the cosine curve bounces back between this acceptable range. So therefore, the domain of our inverse has to be between -1 and 1. So you're going to get a domain error whenever you try and take the inverse cosine or sine of something that's outside of a value of 1 and -1. So something to be aware of. Okay, very straightforward. Here's a U-try. Find the value of the expression to 2 decimal places. This says the inverse tangent of -35.85 radians. Okay, you should have got -1.54 when you plug this into your calculator if you're in radian mode. That's it.